Mark Crossfield here, Golf Swing Weekly fixed time every Tuesday 8:30. Today we're talking strike. Strike is king. Everything I do in all my lessons works from strike outwards. So many people ask me, how can I improve my strike? It's one of those questions that's really hard to actually give an answer to because there's no definitive. It's so player specific really. But let's give you a few ideas of what I do with students, some sentences I use that help them change their idea around strike. Let's get stuck in. So strike's king. I've got an iron here. It's going to affect my distance. It's going to affect my spin. It's going to affect how that ball stops on the green or not. With a driver, it's going to add curvature to the ball. It does a little bit with an iron, but next to none. So the more the centre of gravity pulls away from the face, a thing called gear effect really takes into place. So out of a toe hit, you might start to get some balls drawing to the left and heel hits fading to the right. So strike is everything, where for so many students they don't really work it into the conundrum at all. They're seeing cuts and they're thinking out to in swing pass straight away. They're not thinking, maybe am I healing them? To give you an idea, you all understand how important strike is hopefully by now, but kind of we've understood it for years, we've just ignored it. How many of you have seen the Tour Pro do this one and then the ball go 20 foot away? They know they've not struck that club how they would want, so they know it won't go as close as it should because say the club they were using is the correct number, so it's going to hit the right distance. And they also know, probably everyone else, a good percentage of that field with a 7-iron into that green are going to hit it closer. So they're dealing on such fine differences on strike. They hit the ball, they feel the strike isn't where they wanted it to be, they know they're going to have a 25-30 foot putt rather than a 10-foot putt, and the silly commentator says, oh, I would be happy with that one. Yeah, but that's why people like him and me are commentating, because we're not good enough to hit it that repeatedly well. So strike is king. So let's give you some ideas of how I get people to play and understand strike. First thing you've got to do is you've got to understand your strike pattern. So people have a strike pattern. So for me, for instance, let's say I'm hitting a 7-iron, my strike pattern is middle to slightly at the bottom. So I'm always working that into the equation. If there is a green where the trouble was at the start, at the front of the green, I'm going to make that conscious decision to hit one more club or a bit less if it allows me to, or I'm just going to make sure, hope I hit a good strike on that occasion. It's going to be a calculated decision. So for you, if you're someone who always hits, say with the driver, at the heel, and it causes a little bit of fade, you get the wind off the left, you need to be consciously maybe aiming more at the left. Work with the feel of that strike. So you've got to understand your strike pattern. Easiest way to do that, mark the face up with some tape. That will affect spin numbers and ball flight a little bit, but it will give you an impact repeated position. And you want to see where your pattern of strikes is, always at the toe, always at the heel, or random. And that's the worst one. That's the one I see the most, is the random strike. The more consistent, always at the heel, always at the toe, is often there for a reason. So what I mean by that is they're using that strike to get the desired shape, and sometimes not desired shape, but a shape that will hit a target. So always hitting out that heel because it feels more natural with their club path and it gets it finding the target. We'll talk about that one in a minute. Now if you've got the random strike kind of issue, all I would really want you to start practicing is trying to actually hit the ball out of all parts of the face. So try hitting 5 out the toe, 5 out the heel, 5 out the bottom. You'll struggle to get the ones at the top unless it's really teed up, but certainly go for heel, toe and bottom. So if I stand here and hit a shot, I can purposely fin one. So I've got that at the bottom, it's gone in lower. It felt a little vibration up the shaft as I hit that. Now I'll use that shot in a fairway bunker. I'll always hit more at the bottom, more on the fin side of my strikes. I'll try and adjust my strike. Now what I did for that, so for me getting it out the bottom, is it was simply a case of me feeling as I hit the ball, I was pushing up more from the ground. I was coming up, trying to get the club not to get as low. You will be amazed how many students I have hitting it, say, at the toe a lot. You identify that to them, so with the measuring of GC2 HMT, and I say, have you ever tried hitting them not out the toe? And they try and hit one, say, more towards the heel. And they just a simple finding that spot and then ask them not to hit it there can really change someone's idea of the golf swing. They've spent all their time perfect grip, perfect posturing, perfect takeaway, that they forget that they can actually practice where they're hitting it on the face. Now think about this, if I'm in a slight divot here, that's a big divot there, I still want to hit a shot. What I'm going to do on this shot is I'm going to try and feel like I'm actually going to get a bit lower at the bottom. That ball was slightly below my feet to try and hit this shot. And I see I've taken a bigger divot, I've dug it out of that hole. I didn't make massive setup changes, massive directional swing changes. I literally felt like I was getting a bit lower. Think about when you're playing on the course. How often is the ball level with your feet? You know, if you were to spirit level this ground here, that ball probably is a little bit above my feet. And if I just knock it to there, still a gaming, that ball now is slightly below my feet. You need to be able to adjust your strike dynamically. And the best way of doing that is actually to practice dynamically hitting it on different parts of the face. Now, if you're someone, let's say a driver, say for this one, this is where you'll really start seeing strikes adding curvature. Let's pretend you're someone who always hits it out the neck. Same drill, try and hit it a bit more out the toe is a great one. So same as your iron, actually try and consciously hit it out the toe. When you get people doing that, they feel different shot shapes, different ball speeds off the face, because certain parts of the face are traveling at different speeds. So the outside of the circle is often traveling a bit faster than the inside. They hit a few out the toe and they actually start to enjoy that, and they try and start to dynamically find that place. But other things, sentences I use to try and move strike around. I'll talk about how they're pushing in the ground. Often people who are struggling with the heel strikes are people who raise the handle at impact. That often comes in with what we call an early extend, so people pushing their hips forward, all encouraging getting that head of that club, that sweet spot more outside of the ball. I do things, I get people to feel like they're trying to deliver the handle lower and left. That often can move a strike much more towards the toe. So not so much of feeling that way or this way, more of a handle high and a handle low issue. Again, with the driver, if you're someone hitting all over the face, you've got to start practicing trying to consciously find the different spots on the face. But the biggest problem with the strike is often with the way people are pushing on the ground. So the other simple thing I get people to do, even get them to do this with their shoes off actually, because they feel the ground a lot more. I do this drill a lot with students, pushing on the grip here of the club and on the shaft, hitting some shots where they feel like they're just keeping that pressure going along this club shaft on the ground. You'll find their strikes just absolutely transform. They do lose speed, but they do find a different part of the club face, and that's key for you getting some more consistent shots, some more consistent directions, and hopefully lowering those scores a bit. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Periscope, all the normal social places. Also, come and visit my new website, markcrossfieldgolf.com. See you over there.